welcome to the show. I'm Brett Sharp. It is Retire with Integrity. I'm here with the man, the guru of all things finance, the owner of Integrity Financial, and Brian Bowen. On today's show, we're going to talk about what we can learn from celebrity estate planning mistakes. We'll review some of the red flags that could trigger an IRS audit, which nobody wants. And there's a nearly $300,000 retirement expense that you might not be planning for. But first, on the Seeking Alpha website, Brian, found an article that said most financial plans are set to fail miserably over the next decade. That's a little scary, especially for those of us who are coming up on retirement within the next few years. First, do you think that's an accurate statement? And second, how do you make sure that our financial plan doesn't fail?
Yeah, I think it is accurate because a lot of people are not looking at a lot of different things. They're looking at how much money they have, right? And they say, well, if I can take this much from it, I'm going to be okay. The market doesn't. The problem is they use a lot of very over optimistic expectations of interest rates, right? Like, oh, I'm going to get 12% for the last. I've got 12% for the last 5 years, so I should get 12% forever.
Yeah.
Doesn't work like that.
Yeah, it's new administration, new changes, everything.
Well, everything. Yeah, there's market drops like what happened in February, March of 2020. You had this. Everything's doing great, and all of a sudden the bottom falls out, and so you got those problems. You got the savers, the ones that are very conservative, are getting nil to nothing on their interest rates, right? On CDs, bond yields, and they don't want to take any more risk. The younger folks are like, sure, let's buy Tesla, let's let it roll, and you've got that aggressive nature when you're younger, but it changes when you get into retirement. You don't want to go back to work. Sometimes you can't go back to work and make the same money that you were making. It's not even if I wanted to, you can't, because of physical needs or whatever. So I think what they do not consider a lot of times is the stress tests that you can run on a retirement plan. We run them on taxes, right? We run them on inflation. That's another one that is completely out of our control. These things that are out of our control, right? There's some things that you can control, but raising tax rates. What if taxes go up 50%? We just did that for a client. They came in and they're like, oh, we've got over $1 million saved in our accounts, and here's our expenses. And then we kind of did a whole plan, and it looked pretty good on paper until I put it in our financial planning software that said, okay, if taxes go up by 30%, looks like you have a 30% success rate. What do you mean? Everybody else is telling me that it's successful. Are they stress testing your retirement against future increase in taxes?
And what is the stress test? How do you stress test?
Well, what does it mean is saying because of the way they saved, right? They saved it in a pre-tax IRA or a pre-tax 401k. You don't know what the per se interest rate is going to be, right, in retirement.
Yeah, right.
So it's like you're hoping the taxes are going to be the same. You're hoping that the administration isn't going to increase taxes. You're hoping that everything's just going to be honky-dory for the rest of your life, right?
Yep.
And it's a hope. But it's not a real solid plan, right? And so I think that's it's also, well, what if inflation goes up by 2 or 3% and it costs so much more to live, and you've got to take more out of that pre-tax account that you never paid tax on. It is this looming tax bomb, as we call it, and people have no idea what to do about it, right? They're like, well, I don't know. Okay, you talk about this. How do we fix it, right? And so there are things you can do to fix it, but you have to look at each situation. Some people come in and go, well, I've got all this money, I got this IRA, I'm real worried. It's not that much to worry about, right? You got $200,000-$300,000 in a pre-tax account. The rest of your money's already been taxed, and you kind of own and control it a little more, right? Or you shifted it and we're funding a Roth. Yeah, I've been funding a Roth for 20 years. Oh, great, good job. You're one of the few, right? You've done the right thing. And you kind of saw this coming, say, I'd rather pay the tax now. In other words, pay the debt down, right? Know what the interest rate is in retirement that you're looking out at. And so I think you've just got to stress test your retirement for the worst case scenario. It's not a fear mongering, you're not going to have enough money. It's just really look at all those things to make sure that your plan is solid no matter what really kind of happens, right? What if the interest rates, the rates of return only gets, 4%. And we just talked about how your portfolio had done 12.
12, yeah.
Wow, big difference now.
Significant.
Right. So can you afford the beach house now? Right? Or the lake house? or whatever, just the vacation home, the cabin in the woods, or whatever it may be. You've got to have all those different scenarios kind of figured out ahead of time, because there are some things that are just completely out of our control if taxes go up. Now, there's some clients that have so much that it's like, well, it's more of a, I'm trying to pass it on to the next generation, right? It's not necessarily all about me. Well, that's a whole different story. That's where legacy planning kind of comes in, right? It's like, you are probably in this stage right now where you're like, well, I want to take care of me, right?
Oh yeah, man. I'm 51.
Right. I mean, it's like, I want to take care of me and my wife, right? And I want to retire. I don't want to work to 90. But there may be.
I want to work to 55. I want the ability to retire when I'm 55. Right. Can you get me there?
Yeah, we'll work on that. Hold on, let me get my magic wand out of my bag. And that's fine. It's just, how are you going to get there, right? And I think that's what he's saying in this article, is just that a lot of plans are set to fail because they don't really have a solid foundation.
Here's a pretty common thought, I think, from a caller.
I do think about taxes a lot. I mean, every time I get my paycheck, I do see a significant amount being pulled out from the government. So I worry when I don't have income coming in, what share they'll steal from me.
At least he takes the time to review his pay stubs. But according to a recent survey by a CPA group, 45% of all Americans have no idea how much tax is being withheld from their paychecks. I'm guessing we're probably paying a lot more than we realize then, right?
Oh, absolutely. Was kind of funny that he used the word steal. Did you catch that?
I didn't know.
Yeah, he said they're stealing from my paycheck. I was like, wow. Yeah. He said steal.
Yeah, he's happy.
Like theft.
He's happy.
Somehow I just feel like he's not happy about that. I'm just getting this feeling about it. But yeah, I mean, it's funny in this article. It says 45% of the people polled by the American Institute of CPAs, or AICPA, said they don't know when they last reviewed the amount of tax withheld from their paychecks. I mean, they're not even knowing if it's right? It's just like, okay, but that's not a big deal. That really shouldn't. They should really be focusing on more of, what's my taxable income? What's the strategies that are available? We have some folks that just came in and they said, well, we need a plan. And they met with Lynn, our other financial planner. She gathers all the information, and then we review it together as a team, and we come back with a solution. And, it's like, okay, well, let's start here. Are you funding an HSA? Oh, no, I think we have that available. Okay, well, you probably should start there. That's a good, easy, low-hanging fruit. You got it available at your employer. I know your employer. We've helped many people there. Mm-hmm. So start there. Well, how does that work again? Well, it's a triple tax benefit. You're getting an HSA right now. It's something that can grow in an investment account, right? And you can then use it for medical expenses or dental or vision or anything like that down the road, right? Now, you can't use it for, elective cosmetic expenses, mm-hmm. right? I know you wanted to get a nose job or whatever, but you can't use it for that, right? So
it all depends on how it's coded.
Right. Yeah, right. Maybe somebody at the hospital who can code it for you. But the point is that that's a triple tax benefit. There's nothing out there that actually you can do that with, right? So should you be, saving in an HSA? Yes. Okay, well, stop saving in the pre-tax 401k. You already got $700,000 in a pre-tax account. Stop. You're only 50. It's only going to get worse. And that's great. Well, yeah, but I didn't pay. I just saved all that money. You didn't save that much, really. Where you saved at is the growth, and everything is tax deferred, right? It's that big pitch. Oh, everything grows tax deferred. Roths grow tax deferred. Real estate grows tax deferred. Growth stocks grow tax deferred. On and on and on. There are a lot of things you buy that until you sell, they grow tax deferred, right? The downfall of something that is just looming, this big debt, is like, what tax rate are you going to pay down the road?
Right.
Okay. So I think it's just having a strategy. And if you're working for someone, sometimes it's not all about the tax savings now, right? It's about what can we do down the road. And sometimes when you implement a tax plan or a tax strategy, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes. It's not, we saved you $10,000. It's not worth our time and your time to do it if it's going to do that over your lifetime. But if it's going to be in the hundreds of thousands, is it worth it? Absolutely. So I think that's, CPAs and accountants and enrolled agents, they do a great job of filing your taxes, right? They enter the information in the software and tell you, hey, this is how much you owe, or this is how much you get back, that sort of thing. But it's looking at the other things that you got going in your life, right? Your taxable accounts that you're saving in, maybe real estate, How can you get more tax deductions there? We have a gentleman that has all these old rentals, right? All of this depreciated rentals which if you know what that means, he depreciates every year, right? An investment property bought it 30 plus years ago. Well, it's fully depreciated. He's not getting a tax deduction anymore. The only way for him to get a tax deduction is if he repairs the place, utilities, and like normal expenses.
Right.
So I said, well, why don't we just get rid of all these and we do a 1031 exchange? I don't mean get rid of, sell, right? Move them to a new one, and then all the depreciation starts again, and it starts over in the new property. And he goes, well, how do you do that? And I explained, this is the step in the process to do it. I said, he was getting over $100,000 of income, which is taxable to him. And by doing that, it was shifting it to zero. He wasn't going to have any taxable income anymore. He still had the same income coming in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The same cash flow was coming in, but the tax return showed zero.
And he didn't figure that out.
Well, no, he's a real estate investor.
Yeah.
That's not his job.